I would say for us, it was very early on, we knew we wanted to tour a lot. And we adapted that when we lived in Australia, and we played all the time. We did as much as we possibly could. And then we started getting interests and requests to go overseas, mainly Europe, and a lot of America too. Now it's mostly America because we haven't really been there like to back any of this up. So we're heading there next year. But yeah, I think bands these days can't be lazy. You can't be lazy at all in every sense. People will follow you and they'll invest in you in whatever way that is, buy new music, come into a show, buying a t-shirt, whatever.
Heaven is a hole and it always asks for more. And as much as it respected.
All right.
First of all, yeah, just this is really exciting for me. I'm a big fan, and thank you for taking the time to speak to me. And really,
you're very welcome.
Very exciting.
No worries, you're very welcome, man. Not a problem at all.
Let me just make sure I have everything in order here, just so there's no hiccups in the future. And as I always say, we tend to run backwards and speak about the music and where it all started. But before I do that, I have to ask you, because I saw in one of your videos, I'm getting a cue from there. What do you think about Everton this season? Is it a top 5 season?
No, well, it depends on what they do with the top 6. Jesus.
Yeah.
Now that they may not even be there, but no, Everton to me are consistently inconsistent. They have been for a very long time. They can go up against Liverpool and beat them at home there, you know, and then they go and play like Brighton and lose 2-0 or something. Like all the games they should win, they don't win, you know. That's on paper they should win. So I don't look. They got Carlo Ancelotti there and whatnot. So I think it's still a growing season. I would say there's if we do top 4, amazing. Top 6, wow. But we'll see. I don't know. They've got to be a bit more consistent because they're not. But we'll see. I'm always optimistic. That's why I'm still a fan. If you're not optimistic, you would have left 30 years ago. But, you know.
Yeah, of course. I really liked Everton this season. I mean, obviously having a manager of Ancelotti's caliber, and like you mentioned, it's been sort of an embarrassment this season with a top 6 team. So I wouldn't mind seeing them penalized.
Yeah, I would like to as well too. I think it's like anything when you know, if you get a naughty child and you send them to their room, but their room's full of toys and video games, it's not really a punishment, is it? You know, you've got to. I feel sorry for the players, I do, and the fans. Like they didn't have a say, like it wasn't their fault. But they've got to kind of kick them where it hurts, I think, a bit. And if that means dropping them to lower leagues or stripping them of points or something, I don't know. Like keep in mind, the Premier League still makes a lot of money out of those 6 teams. So you know, if you don't have Manchester United and Liverpool on Sky Sports with advertisements, who's not making money? You know, they don't televise the fourth tier league. Liverpool's not getting played on a Sunday morning, you know, on TV anymore then. So I don't know. But look, case in point was with Rangers. That Rangers Football Club, that happened. They took 9 years to rebuild them, you know, and just so happened Celtic wins 9 seasons. It affects it. It affects it a lot, you know. It could be very detrimental to a lot of the teams, but they'll have to do something. What? I don't know. Who knows? Might be a slap on the wrist. You never know. Fair
enough. Now, moving forward to music, let me just ask you, obviously, Rumjacks have such a great discography. You've just released your newest album. Could you tell us about the meaning of the title, Hestia, and how that all ties into where the band is at the moment?
Yeah, okay. Well, the song Hestia came before the album to be being called Hestia also as well too. So the song was first. Hestia, Greek goddess, home and hearth and fire and whatnot, is kind of like the imagery, obviously, in the name of the song. That we have been asked a few times, doesn't have a direct meaning. It's not directed at anything or anyone or anything like that. It's to be interpreted as it is. It's a woman fighting back for what's hers, protecting, you know, and not giving in, not letting this mythical wolf, you know, get to her or get inside her, you know, like get inside her head and attack her that way as well too. So that can be interpreted however people want, you know, and we've heard a lot of people have been listened to it and adapting it in their own ways, and that's fine, you know. So that song came first for sure, and I guess we thought it was a strong title to have as well too. One of the lesser known gods, you know, Hestia, you know, still there, but there's all the other big ones there's movies about, you know, and whatnot. But yeah, we thought it was a nice strong title and a name and a character and something that could represent the album well as well too.
I'm also wondering, I was looking earlier through the comments in for the newer singles that are already doing very well, and a lot of them come from international audiences. Obviously, you've toured a lot, quite a lot, and I'm wondering, well, first of all, how that works, and also, is that just a positive example that shows that, you know, touring, putting in the hard work actually moves the needle?
100%. And look, there's other factors as well too. We can't lie and won't deny the internet's a big help for bands these days, and has for a while. Opens you up to an audience, it does, you know. And there's the cruel evils of the likes of Spotify and what, that, you know, they don't pay anyone, but everyone gets to listen to you, you know. And does that put them in the front door of a venue one day? Possibly. Music's changed, things have changed. So it like I said, there's a few other factors like the internet and whatnot. But I would say for us, it was very early on, we knew we wanted to tour a lot, and we adapted that when we lived in Australia, and we played all the time. We did as much as we possibly could, and then we started getting interests and requests to go overseas, mainly Europe, and a lot of America too. Now it's mostly America because we haven't really been there like to back any of this up. So we're heading there next year. But yeah, I think bands these days can't be lazy. You can't be lazy at all in every sense. People will follow you and they'll invest in you in whatever way that is, buy new music, come and do a show, buy a t-shirt, whatever. But people want something all the time, and that's fine, which is for us. We want to keep doing something all the time. You got to tour, and then you got to record, and you got to tour again and keep going. What a lot of bands, I think, have wrongly done is skipped countries that aren't worth it. You know, or if they want to come, they'll come to the big city in the country, especially around Europe, you know, like smaller countries, or, you know, you see a lot of bigger bands and they'll come and they'll play a show and they'll play the capital and maybe one other. Or if it's a group of like smaller countries, they'll play like one of the countries and then just hope that others will come down. Don't do that. You've got to, especially when you start touring, you've got to go. And we noticed that, and people were really appreciative of it. So if for some reason we do, I don't know, support a major band or something and do a European tour that's only 20 gigs instead of our usual like 90, then they might come and watch us because, you know, we came to their town instead of bypassing and going to a bigger one which will have 3 times the amount of people in it, you know. So yeah, you've got to tour. You have to. You can't ignore it at all. And it's like anything, the more you do it, the better it gets, you know. You got to keep going back as well.
I can testify to that. I'm from Bucharest, Romania, and you came last year. I think you played. You gave us one of the best shows I've seen, and all of you were very kind. That after the show, it seemed that it took a lot from you, but afterwards you were very kind and you shook everyone's hand and you talked to everyone. I thought that was, you know, amazing.
You've got to as well. Like, you don't, as in like you've got to, it's not a rule. But I just think, I don't understand why bands don't. That was the first time ever we'd been in Romania at all as individuals or as a band. First time in Bucharest and all the other towns we played as well. But you have to, like, I always think it's really easy. You play your gig, and what we played there, that venue was huge. We didn't think we'd go to Romania and be like sold out or like 1,200 people or whatever it was at all. Like, that's incredible. Like, you have to be thankful for that. That amount of people wanted you to come to the city, and that amount of people who work hard for their money, paid money and came to watch you, and you don't have 5 minutes to go out and say hello. I don't get it. You know, like, It's the least you can do. And we actually like it too. Why wouldn't we want to come and meet new people in a country we've never been to, have a drink we've never had with someone we've never met, you know, tell stories. Look what we're doing right now. You know, like if we didn't go play that gig in that town, we couldn't even have this conversation, you know, and think about that memory. I remember the gig very well, you know, and it was amazing for us. So going to places, like Romania, or again, I don't want to use the term, but like the countries a lot of bigger bands don't go to, you know, it's beyond me. I don't get it. There's people there. There's venues there. There's crowds. There's passion and love for it there as much as there is in Milan, Italy, you know, like people should be going to these countries and cities. It's beyond me why they don't.
And is it what I also noticed when you play there is that your schedule was very packed. I think you were playing the day after that, or the second day after that. And I'm wondering, after almost 20 years of doing this, are there things that you learn about, you know, pacing yourself just so you can do so many shows so quickly?
Yeah, definitely. You've got to tour to learn how to tour. There's not like a little rule book on that one. But yeah, pacing yourself is definitely one. Sometimes every night feels like a Saturday night, you know, but you're playing a gig on a Tuesday night and people are still having a good time and they're all drinking. They've got the next day off work. We've got to get into the van and go to the next city and do it all again. So, because as tempting as it is to treat every night like a Saturday night, you do have to have some kind of, you know, reserve set on what you can and can't do each night, you know, but have fun, that's for sure. Have fun. But yeah, it is very tiring. It is. But I think now after a while we've worked out just how far we can push ourselves. That's it. Right.
Also, speaking about the new record, I was watching the video, the short documentary that you posted online about recording it and the challenges of that. I have a few questions about that, but the first one is, what was it like working with a new vocalist, with Mike Rivkees, and did it take a lot of practicing to, you know, click as a band, or how did that work?
Short answer to that was no, it didn't take long at all. Before we'd all physically met in Milan, we were every day sending ideas to each other, or Mike would send these demos. We had a whole list of songs, ideas, even if it was just 4 chords and, you know, a hummed melody or something like that. We had this like library of music. So we'd been interacting, been talking, the ideas, and practicing at home and, you know, things like that for months before we actually met up. So it kind of felt like there was no real daunting moment of meeting each other, which we'd all met before. We've played a few shows with them and things like that. But when we all met and got together, it was the opposite of difficult. It was so easy and efficient and fun, and there was no dramas with it at all. It really was. It clicked immediately. Mike's a really, really good musician. He's a really nice bloke, really easy to get along with. So you put that into a situation and, you know, it worked out perfect. It really did. So there was no real teething issues at all with him joining the band. You know, we still haven't properly toured or whatever, but he knows the game. He's done it all his life as well too. So it's been fantastic having him with us. It really has.
And I really, really love the sound of the record. And I guess the best way to describe it is that obviously it fits into your discography that doesn't just include Celtic punk, but also elements of hard rock and different elements. But you've brought in a lot of the, let's call them traditional Irish instruments, bouzouki and mandolin and banjo and accordion. Obviously, those were part of some of the older recordings as well. Was that a conscious decision for the new record? And just how do you figure those out in the mix of the band, because it is a pretty loud, aggressive band in sound in a way?
Yeah, that's a good question actually, especially when it comes out in the mix, because that was a lot of conversation about that when we'd finished recording it. It wasn't a thought out process to bring those instruments back or anything like that. Like a lot of our bigger songs, like Irish Pub Song, it's whistle and banjo, you know, like it's been there from the very beginning. Little accidental elements, I guess, in a sense, like when I was just talking about demoing and Mike at home, he has a banjo at home. He has acoustic guitar, whistle, all that. Like, so he was demoing with those instruments. This time we had more time as well too. Some of the other albums never rushed, but you're in between tours. The small blessing that COVID brought is that, well, there were no shows, and we did have the luxury of a bit more time. So yeah, we're like, right, let's bring it in. That'd sound good. Play it on banjo. Does it sound good? Right, we're going to record it with a banjo then. Sound better on bouzouki? Then we record it with bouzouki. But we did mostly use all of the instruments and then decided in the mix, should we or shouldn't we take it out here and there. Like sometimes when you do, like you put them all together, it just sounds like a bit of a mess. And like you said, if it's going to be a bit loud and in your face, then if you've got 6 instruments doing the same thing, it can be a bit much on your ears, you know what I mean? But I think most of the time with Rumjacks stuff, it's pretty easy to digest. It's pretty listenable, whether it's loud and aggressive or not, you know, soft and sweet. So you kind of don't want to overdo it with just putting every instrument possible. And then it just came down to what sounded best. That was it. So it wasn't an intentional, right, let's bring back piano accordion. We've always wanted piano accordion to be in the band more. Having that live has been an issue because we don't have an accordion player. But so we did have that luxury with recording. Mike played accordion on that as well too. So yeah, a bit more time, just put them on there, seen how they felt, and if it sounded good, it stayed in the mix.
Right, and for anyone who hasn't seen the band live, the mix live is also very good, even though it needs to balance out, you know, electric instruments with acoustic instruments. And I'm wondering if that's easy to do, seeing that you have to travel from one show to another, obviously different venues, different sound systems, I guess.
The inside secret I'll give you on that one is very easy. Our manager is our tour manager and is also an audio engineer. So when he comes with us, we have our own desks and we bring that, and he's very, very talented at what he does. So he makes our lives very, very easy. But if you were speaking to him, yes, it is hard. Imagine having loud guitars and amplifiers and drums pounding behind you, and then delicate, soft bouzouki's, you know, in front of it, and then for it to sound good as well too. It takes a bit of work, and we before every tour we go into a studio and get prepared for the tour and check everything, and obviously then sound checks every night. But yeah, it is hard to find that balance, but we're very lucky that we have a talented audio engineer with us on every night. And it's the same one too. Yeah, a lot of bands, it's a different person. Like you said, it's a different engineer every night in a different venue every night. Like Bucharest was outdoors, you know, like that tour, all of our shows were all indoors, you know, all the clubs are indoors. This one was open air. So yeah, it's different every single night. But yeah, we're lucky to have Luca on board with us for that.
It did sound great, and I'd heard obviously a lot of bands playing in that venue that didn't sound quite as crisp.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering about, well, going back, I guess, closer to the beginnings. I'm wondering about how important Celtic-punk was to you, or Irish music. And obviously, it's very interesting that a lot of the great Celtic-punk bands from previous years and, you know, from the last years aren't necessarily from Ireland. Some of them share Irish heritage, but obviously it's something that's like the blues, I guess. It's just transcended cultures in a brilliant way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, it's a lot of music, like reggae. Look at that. You know, it's not just only played and listened to in Jamaica and whatnot. But I guess from myself and personal kind of thing was so growing up in Australia, but I had parents from Northern Ireland, where I live. I now live in Northern Ireland. So Australia has a very high Irish, Scottish, British, UK, Isles population there. My parents being one of them, moved over for work and a start of a new life and all the rest. And with that, they always bring, you know, communities always bring their instruments, their songs, their stories, things like that. And Irish, Scottish, and that Celtic kind of followed, so it was always there. It's always around us. And, my parents are here from Northern Ireland, and most of their friends were either Irish or Scottish or English or whatnot. So it was always around you no matter what. And so you do grow up hearing the music and it just being kind of normal to you. Again, especially in Australia, which has lots of expats and whatnot that have left and settled in Australia. So there's Irish pubs everywhere, but there's a lot of that music and it's like social clubs and whatnot around Australia that still celebrate actively like Irish heritage and culture and whatnot. It's everywhere. So like I said, there's a lot of Irish and Scottish and English and Welsh all over in Australia. So yeah, that, like I said, growing up with that, it's not weird. But yeah, I think also it's that Celtic music, but also folk music. Folk music travels worldwide. It's surprisingly more listenable than most people think. Like I said, the whole world essentially listens to at some point folk music at some stage. So that's in there as well too. But yeah, it's easy listening music as well too. Like it's people get what they want out of it, and some people take it as a bit of a gimmick and whatnot. That's fine. That's up to them. But it's not too hard to get your head around that. Just catchy songs that make you want to dance. So
definitely, yeah. I remember reading in there's a book, with interviews of Shane McGowan, and he was talking about how amazing it is that this essentially tiny space of land has done so much for the culture of the world. But there's also something in, I guess, the Irish attitude, not just the music and the lyrics that are obviously very important and distinctive. But there's something about the resilience and bravery. I think that echoes to this album as well. I'm wondering if that was a conscious decision, and if that had anything to do with the times that we're living in that obviously are a bit difficult for various reasons.
Yeah, like it's a good point. That would be one more for Mike to answer, I guess, in regards to his lyric writing. But like going back to what you were saying before, there is with that kind of folk music in general, and then Celtic music, if you want, can be storytelling, whether it's either stories of rebellion or fighting, or love and everyday life, or silly songs, humorous songs, things to capture emotion, whether that's joy and a bit of a laugh to a song, or it's an emotional song, a love song. Like that through folk music in general, I think that is very clear. So I don't see why that can't cross over into like more aggressive music or faster music, whatever you want to, just alternative music, if you will, because you can access all those topics, all those things as well too, and it's going to resonate with someone along the lines. Like I said, more regarding like lyric writing, that was my 100%. So I've heard him say before as well too, like just writing about life and day-to-day things and or stories, things that have happened to him as well, or that, and also stories of old and things like that, or made up stories as well. It's like I said, personal experience, and then others as well, from what I gather he's told me. But I guess that's the thing that makes it sweet about songwriters or different bands, that kind of their stories or their ideas or their experiences in life put into song.
Yeah, and there's a real storyteller element to Irish songs, and especially to folk songs. And I always found it amazing that even bands that cover classics like Rocky Road to Dublin, or you do Automi Ma, stuff like that, it still works very well in a modern context. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, I think so as well too. Like I said, the music like that never really dies, and storytelling, songwriting through time or whatever is always going to be adapted. Celtic music have done it for ages. Like you hear a lot of songs that like sound like another one. It's because they kind of borrowed the music and then changed their words to it, the lyrics and whatnot as well. So it's not, change isn't bad. Change is not bad, it can be, but you know what I'm saying? Like you can move on and create and change things when you will.
and going even further back to just before your first album, and I guess that you were very lucky that it came out with quite a bang and quite a lot of interest for the band. But wondering, just before that, if I understood correctly, initially you just wrote songs as a duo, and then created the full band and played live. And that was before, you know, the singles, and obviously it's one of them especially became incredibly famous. What was it like playing Australia before the acknowledgement, let's call it?
Yeah, well, when the band was pieced together, it really was quite pieced together. We all played in bands at the time, like other little projects, nothing serious at all. So like our first drummer was the drummer of my rockabilly band, but he was only temporary, you know, like, so he was never like a member. I think he recorded the first EP, things like that. So it really was tacked together in the beginning, just so we were able to start playing live. Yes. So when Gabriel and Adam Adam joined the band, then left because he moved to Canada, and then he came back like a year later. So like I said, the very early stages, it was just pieced together a bit just so we could keep playing and playing live. And then very quickly came the time that we needed to record the first album. So we done the EPs, put that together, like I said, just to have something. Like I played guitar in the first EP. I'm not a guitarist. I'm not good at all. So we just did what we could, the best we could in the beginning, played as many shows as possible, and then like, right, there's only so many gigs we can do with not having a CD or a record on the merch table, you know. So we went in and recorded Gangs of New Holland, and yeah, Irish Pub Song came out after that and whatnot. But when it first came out in Australia, if that's what you mean specifically, it didn't like boost us to having hundreds and hundreds of people in the room instantly or anything like that. It still was a slow burner. Like it came out, it just meant we had more to put out, you know, online and whatnot, and to be able to hear it. But then as that happened, internationally it grew at the same time, and then very quickly overtook Australia. So the music scene's very, very different in Australia, especially for like punk music, you know, kind of live music. It's a big country. It's quite hard to tour there. If you go just logistically city to city is like 12, 13 hours drive between, you know. It's quite hard. A lot of venues are closing. So when we got the kind of rumblings that Europe really liked it, and they were taking, like, kind of hearing the songs and really taking them on board, a shift kind of happened there, and we realized, as much as we loved playing Australia, you know, and hope to again one day soon, but you know, there's a bigger world out there than Australia where you can slog it out and, you know, try your best. But we just wanted to tour. We wanted to see more of the world. So it was a slow burner in Oz, but it definitely, you know, if you have music, if you have releases, it's going to help no matter what. And it did help in Australia, but yeah, that was the kind of the kickstart for the rest of the world to kind of listen, I guess, around then.
Right. And obviously it's the music scene in Australia is very interesting. I mean, I'm just discovering stuff from the 70s and 80s, like punk stuff that I didn't know about. That's absolutely great. But I'm wondering, like you mentioned, taking that leap internationally, and I hope this isn't a bad question to ask, because I'm sure you get asked about Irish Pop Song a lot of times, and obviously there's so much more to listen to. But I'm wondering, what's the experience of having, I guess, for lack of a better word, a viral hit that doesn't really happen in modern times, not even for, you know, the biggest bands in the world? Yeah,
I know. I guess there's so many platforms, isn't there? You know, like if you release a song, like if we're speaking musically, like if you release a song, it goes across a million different platforms, you know. So yeah, to have like one song on YouTube hitting like, you know, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, whatever, I guess it's slowing down a bit unless you're these monster artists. But we were completely ignorant to the whole thing. Like we recorded Gangs of New Holland, and we're like, oh, okay, you do singles, all right, well, what one? We'll do this one. And we filmed it very, very quickly and very amateurishly, like on our behalf. We've never made a video clip before. So that's why we look as awkward as can be in the video. It was also the day after St. Patrick's Day that we filmed that, so there were a few sore heads in the room. But I was very ignorant to YouTube, and it was just something you put out there and hoped for your best. It was certainly not intentional, like, right, this song is going to be a viral hit. It didn't. No one said that, like sitting around writing, demoing it or whatever, recording it at all. I was like, right, let's put it out there. And then it just took off. So unexpected for sure. And that, without fail, definitely kind of like opened the gates to people listening to our other music, which is great. So it doesn't fuss us that like Irish Pub Song is the song everyone wants to hear or anything like that, because it's allowed a lot of people to listen to the rest of the record and then buy the next album and then the next album and then be fans today. So it's great. We're super happy it's happened for sure. But yeah, it was the kind of the gateway song, I guess.
For sure. And it really created, I guess, a long-term excitement, because there was quite a gap between releasing Gangs of New Holland and releasing Sober and Godless. But when you did return, and you did return to playing live, it was, from what I understand, there didn't seem to be a long distance. The fans were still there, were still ready to embrace the band.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, there was that gap, and considering when it was released, especially internationally as well, we'd never left Australia. We'd only just kind of started touring that album and people hearing that song live, I guess, in Australia. So it must have stuck around long enough for them to, when we started going internationally, to still be on board and be a fan, and then like the rest of what we were recording and releasing. So so I guess nowadays, like I said, people want as much out of you as possible, and that's fine. Like I said, we'll record as much, we'll release as much as we can, as long as it's good. Like, not just the amount you do, it's quality too. But now it's, I guess, it's a bit of a faster game in that bands are releasing more and sooner. I guess maybe it's, are fans lazy? I don't think so. It depends on the band. Not for us, they're not. Like, they're the best fans ever. But if someone's a fan, they want more of you, and that's fine. And if you can give it to them, you should, 100%. So if you can do 2 albums a year, do it. Will that have a negative effect? I don't know. But as long as it's good, put it out, and the fans, as far as we can tell, will stick around and support.
That's brilliant. And I'm also wondering about working with, obviously, a lot of your work, you could classify it as independent, just because you put so much effort into it. Obviously, so much effort into playing live, the traveling, the merchandise and things like that. But you're also working with ABC Music, if I'm not mistaken. So what's the relationship like, working with somebody from the music industry and also doing a lot of things on your own, especially the touring parts?
We're really lucky. I think the relationship's perfect. So all our releases, all our albums have been on 4/4 Records, which is a subsidiary of ABC in Australia. Our very, very good friend Basil, who has basically been with the band from the beginning, runs that label. So we already had a personal relationship with him. He helped the band, he booked his shows, he did like Joe Strummer tribute nights in Sydney. For many years, we played 2 of them, I think. So he was always associated and around the music scene, and then he started this label with ABC, and we've been with them since the start. So it's all been through them, and it still is today. There's this kind of mystery, I guess, sometimes, or genuine horror stories of like major labels or labels and their influence onto artists or a record or something like that, and that hasn't affected us at all. Basil and the whole crew at 4/4 Records, it's complete freedom. Like, they're very, very good to us, and just it's quite simple, really. Like, right, if you got songs, go record them and let us know how they sound. It's like, there's no, okay, well, we need to hear these songs, we need to sit around a big round table and to discuss them and all this stuff. They put complete faith in us, and which in a way gives us complete faith in them too. So we've been really lucky, yes. So we're involved like with them, but there's no kind of pressures. And like you said, everything else we do as well. Our manager Luca works his butt off too. So everything we do, I guess, as a band is kept in-house as much as possible. You know, like we obviously need help along the way for lots of things, but yeah, it's what we like doing. We enjoy it as well too. So, you know, there's good sides and bad sides to bands, but you're always learning, and you're learning new things. You learn things when you're on tour, but then you also learn things about the music business as well too. So you're taking all that in as well. So there's no real negatives to kind of educate yourself more, and the more you're involved, the more you're going to know, isn't it? So we enjoy it. We like it. So it's not like an issue to us. And like I said, we're very lucky. We have a good relationship with the label and with our management. It's a good team. So we are very, very lucky to have that.
That sounds ideal. And like you mentioned earlier, and from the discussions I've had, it's rock bands and bands of any sort, they're not really allowed to be lazy anymore in any sort of way if they want to progress and do anything. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it is too, man. And like I said, music industry changes. It's always changed. Everything changes. Technology changes. Like it's fine. And, you know, some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them I agree with. Some of them I don't, but it's happening. So you learn from it, you deal with it, and you just got to, like anything, you just work hard. Just right. Okay. People want to see new YouTube clips all the time. Right. Well, let's do our best to do that. It's long gone are the days where, you know, you could be Metallica and release an album and you've sold 2 million of them before, you know, at the end of day one, and you've got a ton of money in your pocket. Like, I wish that still happened. I wish that would be great. But you, in a way, maybe that, like I said, they've got a few million in the bank on day one from a record or a CD coming out, and they'll decide to do their world tour at the end of the year, and it lasts 2 months. You can't. That does not exist anymore. But now you've got to get out and you've got to tour. And you see older bands doing it as well too. It's not record sales anymore. It's not. So you got to be an active band, and whatever active is, if that's touring or if that's putting videos out or singles out or whatever it is, you've got to be active. Like, you can't, like I said, put a record out and sit back and make the millions. It doesn't happen at all. You've got to get out, work hard, sell t-shirts, sell tickets, tour again, and then record and do it all again. You know, you got to work hard.
Really makes sense. And the work ethic is obvious in what you do. Usually in closing, and this is only if this doesn't upset you, I usually prepare 2 or 3 sillier questions just to lighten up the mood before we end.
Yeah, go on.
This is okay.
That's fine. Someone did one of them the other day, and I was completely stumped. So I apologize in advance if my answers are horrible, but let's give it a shot. Let's see how we go.
I think they'll be in the ballpark, right, or within your area. First of all, I was going to ask, and you touched on it earlier, but you didn't actually give us a lot of details about what your number 1 tip is to having a night of drinking and maybe playing music and being able to go up, wake up the next morning and just go to work. I tried it at your show and it didn't work.
Just reduce your drinking. Or choose selective dates where the drive the next day isn't as bad, or you have the day off. You can't do it every night. I wish if you can do it every single night and put on a good gig, that's the difference. You've got to actually put on a show. People paid money to come and watch you, and they might get drunk and feel horrible the next day, but you know, we've got to play well for them and enjoy ourselves. And also, I've seen way too many clips of myself played back the next day, and I thought I played well, and I played horrendously. So in short, don't drink as much as you think you can. Drink less.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Drink less.
Liquid courage.
Exactly.
If there was a Celtic-punk festival that had the possibility of getting all the great Celtic-punk bands in 1 night or 2 night event, and it was your say to decide who was going to headline it, who would it be? Obviously, you can pick your band. That's a given.
No. if I was going to go watch it, I don't want Rumjacks to play. I want to watch the gig, you know.
Right.
Right. Hard question. There'd be two. The obvious one, which I'm thankfully can say I have seen them live, would be the Pogues. They're the godfathers, you know. Yeah, respect to them, and would love to. Like, let's be honest, I think time is limited on when you're going to be able to see Shane play, you know, if at all again. But I would say, look, short answer would be Pogues. If it was any possibility at a very close second, and if the man was still alive today, I would say Roaring Jack with Alistair Hewlett, if he was still alive today. If you've not heard of them, Roaring Jack, an Australian band from 80s, fantastic. Very few, like the kind of like unknown, but like I don't understand why, but very, very good songwriter, awesome band, and they needed to be a million times bigger than what they were. So that a very close second would be Roaring Jack from Australia.
Very interesting, and I promise you, this is the first thing I'm going to search right after we finish this interview.
You'll love it. You'll love it, man.
If they're playing close to the Pogues, then that must be amazing.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. But they would be the two. But
sounds like something I'd want to watch.
Yeah.
And I've kept the most difficult question, I think, for last. And, I was just going to ask if, let's say, Everton was in a fight for the title. It was the last day of the season, but they would really need Liverpool to win a game for them. So that would mean you'd have to, you know, support Liverpool for one day. Would you do that?
That is a very difficult question. Yes, I would. One, because I want Everton to win like a title for sure. Two, unlike Liverpool supporters, we don't hate you as much as you hate us. So we're a loving team of averageness and inconsistencies. So yes, I would go against all my strengths and thoughts on Liverpool, and if it meant Everton winning like a league or a cup, I would do it. Yes.
Brilliant. And
for the greater good of Everton, you know, you'll think about the big picture.
Just to be honest, I'd really love to see Everton winning a trophy in the next few seasons. I think they deserve it.
So would I. I think Evertonians have been wanting that for 30 odd years. So yeah, mate, I'm right there with you, man. Really would. But with Carlo Ancelotti and building again, and you know, it'll take some time. It's not going to happen this season, but these things take time, mate. You know, We'll see how we go.
So just in closing, I want to ask you, obviously a lot of things are, I guess, still up in the air, but I think some of the live dates for the Rumjacks have been announced for the near future. If everything goes according to plan, what will that be like? Where and when can people see you live?
Yeah, all going well, and best case scenario, I would say the tail end of summer in Europe. There may still be restrictions in place. That's still, like you said, we're still learning that and being told from the promoters every day, every week, what's changing. But so I'd say by the end of summer, there might be some restricted shows, possibly around Italy, Greece, Spain. We'll see. Things change every day. But I would like to believe, and the way it's looking by the fall and end of year, we should be playing back to club shows again around Europe. And then next year, it's on. Next year, it's game on for that. So, but that's every band's doing the same. So it'll be, I think 2022 is going to be a mighty year for gigs. So I don't think there's going to be a band out there that people can't go to see because they'll be playing. So this year, we're just going to see what happens. Fingers crossed it's quicker, but you know, some countries are slower than the others. Like UK is opening up now. Live gigs and music will be, you know, that'll be a couple of months. I think they said July will be back to normal, and restrictions are lifting here as well. So, but you know, that's UK. Doesn't mean the rest of Europe, America. You know, it all changes. We'll see how we go, mate. But end of summer, let's see. Hopefully.
Can't wait to see that. And yeah, I heard similar things about the UK, that certain clubs have their dates backed up for, months and months on end. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, but like you said, some things may change. I think you're actually booked for Romania towards the tail end of autumn, I think, this year. So hopefully I'll get to see you there.
Yeah, there's a few. Yes, we have booked those shows in, and Poland as well. Yeah, Romania, Serbia. There's quite a few there. So look, if it goes the way it is, those shows will be as we know it, the style shows. Like no sitting down or masked. We'll see, but the safest things first. And as long as these countries and people are safe and well, then and we're allowed to go play the shows, we'll do. We'll be in the van tomorrow if we're told we could, but we just gotta wait. We're almost there. It's so close.
It's brilliant, and I'll love hearing the new album live. Anderson, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. And it was I really got a great insight into the band, and obviously a brilliant, very important punk band. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on here, mate. Appreciate it, and thank you for the good questions. Cheers.
As well. Thank you. Have a great day.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. Check it. Bye.